Great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. This hearing will be live streamed on OTA's YouTube channel, and I believe that the live stream has started. This is the Office of Tax Appeals hearing in appeal of Amin. I am going to explain a few logistics about how this electronic hearing will work, and after that, we will officially go on the record. Then once we're on the record, I will ask the participants to identify themselves. If at any time anyone has difficulty hearing someone or is having technical problems with the video conferencing, please speak up and let us know. The Office of Tax Appeals, or OTA, will be conducting today's hearing electronically with the agreement of all participants. Today, the hearing is being transcribed by Zoom. To ensure that we have an accurate record, we ask that everyone speaks one at a time and does not speak over each other. And please speak clearly and loudly so that the transcription picks up everything that you're saying. After the hearing, there will be an official hearing transcript, which will be available on the Office of Tax Appeals website. To reduce background noise, we do suggest muting yourself when you are not speaking, but please remember to unmute yourself when it is your turn to speak. And also, I'll remind everyone to please silence your cell phones if you have not already done so that we won't be interrupted by a phone ringing. As I said, today's proceedings will be live streamed to the public on YouTube, so any information is publicly viewable. Therefore, please be careful not to share any confidential documents on your screen or share any confidential information, and particularly in this case, such as home addresses. Finally, if at any point you get disconnected, please rejoin the hearing as soon as possible and let us know that you are rejoining after being disconnected. Now, if everyone is ready, we will go on the record. And we are on the record today in the appeal of Amin, and this is OTA case number 231214896. My name is Suzanne Brown. With me today are my co-panelists, Judge Michael Geary and Hearing Officer Erica Parker. Although I am the lead panel member who will be conducting the hearing for this case, my co-panelists and I are equal participants in deliberating and determining the outcome of this appeal. Now, next I will ask each party to identify themselves for the record, and I will start by asking the Franchise Tax Board representatives to each identify themselves.
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Gates, and I'm here representing Franchise Tax Board.
My name is Topher Tuttle. I'm also representing Franchise Tax Board.
Thank you. And now I will ask first appellant's representative, Mr. Amin. Could you please identify himself?
Yes, I'm Muhammad Amin.
Okay. And also your witness who is going to be testifying today.
Her name is.
Hi, I'm Shazia Amin, Muhammad Amin's daughter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. All right, just briefly, I'm going to go over a few logistics as I indicated. This hearing is being conducted today before the Office of Tax Appeals, which is also known as OTA. OTA is not a court, but is an independent appeals body. OTA is staffed by tax experts and is independent from the state's tax agencies, including independent from the Franchise Tax Board. Because OTA is a separate agency from the Franchise Tax Board, evidence and arguments heard before FTB are not necessarily part of the record before OTA unless they've been submitted to OTA. OTA's written opinion for this appeal will be based upon the filings that the parties have submitted to OTA, including the exhibits that will be admitted into evidence today and the arguments presented at the hearing today. As a reminder, the panel members do not engage in ex parte communications with either party, which means that we do not talk to one party without the other party present. Now, we've had 2 pre-hearing conferences in this matter. The most recent one was in late July, and we confirmed that the issue for hearing is whether appellant's claim for refund for the 2017 and 2018 tax years are barred by the statute of limitations. I'll ask appellants first. Mr. Amin, can I confirm that is your understanding of the issue?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And FTB, is that a correct statement of the issue?
That is a correct statement, yes.
Thank you. Next, I'm just going to talk about the exhibits that we have for the hearing today. Both parties timely submitted proposed exhibits. As I explained during the pre-hearing conference, OTA's regulations require that the proposed exhibits must be submitted at least 15 days in advance of the hearing, and we did receive these timely. First, let me cover appellants' exhibits. Appellants have submitted documents that we marked as exhibits 1 and 2, and FTB submitted its exhibits marked as A through N. Regarding appellants' exhibits, I do note I think there was a typo in the pre-hearing conference statement that I think I typed exhibit 22 instead of exhibit 2, but I think everyone knew I meant exhibit 2. FTB did not submit any objection to appellants' exhibits being admitted, and I'll just confirm, FTB, you have no objection to appellants' exhibits 1 and 2 being admitted into evidence, correct?
Correct, no objections.
Okay, then appellants' exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted into evidence. And also during the pre-hearing conference, appellants did not raise any objection to admission of the Franchise Tax Board's exhibits. At the time, we had exhibits A through L and A through L, and then Franchise Tax Board indicated it would be submitting 2 additional exhibits, and those are exhibits M and N that we received. Appellants, Mr. Amin, can I confirm that you have no objection to FTB's exhibits A through N being admitted into evidence?
The other one, that's the only one we got. Yes, yes. No objection.
No objection, right. And I'll just remind everyone that once exhibits are admitted into evidence, either party can refer to the documents. It does not matter which party submitted the exhibits into evidence. And these are simply the documents that the panel will consider as evidence in the record when we are evaluating this case. So FTB's exhibits A through N are admitted into evidence. And next I will move on and just briefly confirm the witnesses who will be testifying today. FTB is not calling any witnesses, but appellants are calling 2 witnesses. Mr. Amin, you indicated that you would be testifying today, correct? Yes?
Yes,
Okay. And then your daughter will also be testifying as a witness today, correct?
Correct. Mhm.
Thank you. Okay. After appellant's witnesses testify, both FTB and the panel members will have an opportunity to ask them questions. And then the order of events that we're going to have during the hearing today will be as follows. I'm going to swear in both witnesses, and then we will have appellant's presentation, which will include witness testimony, and that will take up to 20 minutes. And then FTB, we may have questions for the witnesses or at that time. And then FTB will make its presentation, which I have as taking up to 10 minutes. And we may have questions for FTB at that time, the panel members may. And then after the panel members have asked all of our questions, then appellant may have a rebuttal, and I estimated up to 5 minutes for that. Now I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask if anyone has anything to raise or any questions about the proceedings before I swear in the witnesses and we hear appellant's presentation. If no one has any questions, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swear in both Mr. Amin and Ms. Amin as witnesses. And I will ask Mr. Amin And Ms. Amin, if you would both each raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Amin, you can make your presentation and you can have Ms. Amin testify as well. How you make your presentation is up to you, and you have 20 minutes.
Yeah, I have sent, I think, some of the information already to the appeals court. This will be, most of it will be repetition of that, I think, sent to you and then to. Eventually, I think what it hinges on, the way I look at it is asking me one question. Did I make any money in this state? And answer would have been no. Then I never seen that question from them. Never to this date. They just make up, they say they send me all kind of letters with 2 addresses that they have. We're getting all the mail on those 2 addresses, all kind of bills, this and that. No problem, but somehow their letters wouldn't get. Rather than looking at their own department, why we didn't get it, or find some other way to send me that information or whatever they're asking me. They never ask me that. They never put in that effort to get that question to me. Did I make any income in this state? I never seen that question from them. But they made up their own numbers in there, and then all kind of other things, filing penalty, demand penalty, filing enforcement fee, and this on something I never made. And after they found out never made, I think then they came up with this thing, 4-year thing. First time I learned about it was through garnishment letter from the bank. In their bank statement, they said that this money was taken out. And I had to scratch my head, who it is, what is it for? After I had to ask my tax people, ask the bank, and that was, I think they received the letter on May 13, 22. Eventually, I called their department. I think there was phone number on June 27, 22. And the person I talked to, I didn't wait 4 years from that date to that date. If they're counting the time from my side, that's when it starts. That's when I got aware of it. And then he said, yes, you'll get your money back. He never mentioned 4-year thing. This 4-year thing came on later on from them digging up something, I think. Again, my daughter lives here all along on this address in San Diego. She gets all the mail. Her husband lives here. He gets mail with his name. Her name is Shazia Amin. His name is Tony Domingo. No problem getting their mail. My name is Amin. Why my mail shouldn't be coming? They have problem getting into that mailbox. If they had gotten it, they would have addressed it. They would have told me about it if I'm not here. Today I'm here. Same thing with the mail in Bonifay, Florida. It's I'm getting all kind of other mail, daily bills, utility bills, credit card bills, basically all kind of usual mail. No problem with it. But why I'll be missing that mail from them? Why should I have any problem answering that one question? Did I make any money in the state? It doesn't matter who asked me that. Stranger on the street asked me. I have no problem answering to them either. No, I didn't make any money here. As simple as that. Why wouldn't I answer them? They have to answer me that. Why would I not answer them that question if they ever asked me that? They never asked me that. They dragged me all the way here today. Again, they are giving these, send this returned mail we couldn't figure out what that is. My daughter went to the post office figuring out, see what that means. They didn't know what it is, returned mail. If it's sent to the mailbox, why would they return it? If they gotten something stamped, returned to sender, they only shown that they're keeping it secret. But it says returned mail, returned mail. We don't know what that means. Post office doesn't know what that means. But they're not looking at their own department. What does that mean? They're laying all the blame on us. But they never able to get any, try to get any information from me. No, again, no registered letter. They said they're not supposed to. They are above it. They're not obliged to send the registered letter. And in that context, I will give an example of another department, how they handled it. I do own a rental property in the adjacent city. And one time,
In Florida.
yeah, in Florida.
Yeah.
And one time, when the renters left, they left some garbage strewn on this lawn. Some city inspector came around and he saw that, and they sent me a citation along with picture of the that garbage. That was the evidence. They have no evidence I made any money here. Again, they say we are above it. They make up the figures. And then I sent them the money back, $150. And a couple of weeks later, they again sent me a letter and also a registered letter that they didn't get the money. I owed them the money. And the registered letter was signed by a judge. I mean, they went through all that trouble to make sure I get the message before they go any further. By that time, they already had received the payment, and I sent them the copy of the check and also the date when it was cashed. And they sent an email of they are sorry about it, and they have some problem with the department. But they went through all that just to get $150. Registered letter signed by a judge. But they say they have no obligation to make any more effort to get me any information, to get any, ask any questions from me. They just go around it. They have this option to go after the bank accounts, and they went straight to that, which is disturbing. And of course, you can tell I'm emotional and angry about it too. How could anybody do it to another person? As I understand, they keep on saying rules and laws and articles, but they are made for benefit of people, humans, not against them, to be used against them. They're for the benefit of them. If somebody's done wrong, you undo that wrong. Not try to find some excuses to keep up with it. I'm 80-year-old. I'm retired, but I've lived my life. I went through open heart surgery.
May I take over?
Yes, go ahead.
So clearly this has been a violation and painful and we do appreciate that the Franchise Tax Board has recognized, yes, this money was garnished incorrectly, mistakenly. I spoke with somebody on the phone once we submitted the paperwork showing that he did not, in fact, make any income in California. That's what he's referencing, and we thought that we were going to be able to get his refund. Of course, we were outside of the 4-year limit that's been set for refunds. And when I was looking at the code, what 18416, that all of this is based on, some of that says that, the FTB does not have to send registered mail, fine. The first class mail is sufficient, but the evidence that the FTB provided shows, at least in 3 instances where mail was sent, it was also returned the same day. I can pull it up and show, but I know you all have that, but there's 3 dates where it was sent and returned same day. Some stuff is redacted, so I can't glean anything else from it. But as he said, we've been living here and nothing has come. So, for what that's worth, it was really eye-opening to see the letter or the evidence from the FTB showing the returned mail, which also illustrates we did not get these 11 plus notices that's part of this case. So that factor, plus the fact that that this code 18416 says that any communications need to be sent to the taxpayer's last known address. My father does not live here, has never paid taxes here. So to even send the letters for him to this address didn't make sense. And it's in the next part of that code says the last known address is the one that the taxpayer provided. Again, my father's never generated income and lived here. He visits us. He helped us move into this home as a father does, helped us get into it. Of course, the loan is in his name. We're paying everything. Taxes are being paid across the board. So, it feels like there was just this hypothesis that there is this mortgage on this house of this man, and we can't get in contact with him, but surely they're making something off of it. And that's why this money was garnished. That was the indication I got when I spoke with somebody on the phone. Maybe they were speaking out of turn, but when I asked them, how did you all get to this figure if there's no income to base the math off of, how do you get to this figure that was garnished from his account? And he basically said that we guesstimated based on what income you would need to have a property there and what you might be making off of it, which was mind-blowing. So that plus the fact that this all happened in the midst of COVID, my father, as he's mentioned, has gone through some health issues. We haven't even mentioned about my mother's. All of these factors, and again, the FTBs, even their evidence shows that the mail was returned, makes us feel like though the 4-year term that you all have, that the FTB has set, this is an exception to that, given all of the messiness that's happened here. So, and my father, he's a veteran. He serves his community where they live in Florida. Has always been on the ups and ups. So that's why this is just really painful, to be honest, and it feels like a violation, especially the amount of money that was taken and how hard he works for that money, and that they are on a fixed income now. So.
Does that complete appellant's presentation? Do appellants have anything further right now? You can.
Are we able to continue to talk as the other?
You will have time for a rebuttal, but if that completes appellant's presentation, now we will have questions for either.
Or I think, if the main concern from the board was, is this property making any money for the state? Yes, it is. My daughter works here. She has a good job. Her husband works here. He has a good job. They both pay California state tax. I don't work here. I don't earn money here. But I think that was what they were looking into is how is this house making money for the state? It is. But they didn't look beyond that tunnel vision of all focus on me. There are other options in life too. They never looked at that and how the mortgage is being paid or whatnot. They just, you are making money. That's a terrible allegation that I'm hiding that money from them and from my IRS and everybody else. Terrible allegation.
Mr. Amin, if we've heard appellant's presentation at this time, now I'm going to move on to questions that we'll have for either you or for Ms. Amin. First, I'm going to let FTB have the opportunity to ask any questions of the witnesses. Does FTB have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to turn to my co-panelists and ask if they have questions for either Mr. Amin or Ms. Amin. And I'll start with Hearing Officer Parker. Do you have any questions at this time?
I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. And I will ask Judge Geary, do you have any questions for Mr. Amin or Ms. Amin at this time?
No, but I might have questions after FTB presents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I will hold off my questions as well till I hear both presentations. So now we will turn to FTB for its presentation. And FTB, you can proceed whenever you're ready. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Judge Brown. Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Gates, and with me today is Topher Tuttle. And as we said before, we are here on behalf of a respondent, Franchise Tax Board, or FTB for short. So the issue today, as was mentioned earlier, is whether or not the claims for refund were filed within the statute of limitations. So for the 2017 and 2018 tax years, FTB received information that Mr. Amin had paid a mortgage interest on a home that he owned in California. FTB was notified of these payments by the issuers of the Form 1099 mortgage interest statements that the taxpayers receive once they pay mortgage interest on any home. Now, because Mr. Amin had not previously filed a California tax return, these notices and other correspondence were sent to that California home where the mortgage interest was being paid. In accordance with the RTC 18416, FTB is required to send notices to a taxpayer's last known address, which is the address that of a most recently filed tax return, unless the taxpayer has provided clear and concise notification of a different address, or unless Franchise Tax Board has an address that it believes is the most current address for the taxpayer. Now, because FTB did not have any tax returns for Mr. Amin, at the time it sent these notices, it used the California address in those forms. And this was, of course, the address where the California property was located. Then in November of 2021, FTB had received a piece of returned mail from the California address. And it was at that point that the FTB obtained Mr. Amin's Florida address. Now, once the updated address was received in December of 2021, all the future notices for the 2017 and 2018 tax years were sent to that address. These included a final notice before the levy and lien, which was sent on December 13th, 2021, and in order to withhold the income tax that was sent in April of 2022. Now, and eventually, FTB initiated collection actions for the amounts due and received payment for the 2017 and 2018 tax years on May 31st of 2022. Afterwards, Mr. Amin filed his 2017 and 2018 California tax returns on September 15th, 2023. Now, these are what are considered the claims for refund in this case. So the 4-year statute of limitation had ended on April 15th, 2022 and 2023 for the respective tax years, and the 1-year statute of limitation ended on May 31st of 2023. So under those statutes, the claims for refund are barred. And now we certainly understand that the frustration that Mr. Amin is feeling, but FTB is required to send notices to a person's last known address, and it must follow that procedure to ensure its consistency and compliance with the law. Now, in this case, FTB mailed all the notices to Mr. Amin in accordance with the law governing notification to a taxpayer. Now, unfortunately, failing to file a claim for refund within the statute of limitations for any reason bars the individual from later receiving a refund. The language of the statute of limitations is strictly construed, and there is no reasonable cause or equitable basis to suspend that statutory period. Therefore, Franchise Tax Board asks the Office of Tax Appeals to sustain FTB's position in this instance. Thank you for your time and attention, and would be happy to answer any questions you may have for us.
Thank you. Now I will turn to my co-panelists and ask if they have questions for FTB. And I will start with Hearing Officer Parker. Do you have questions at this time?
I have no questions at this time.
Okay, then I will turn to Judge Geary and say, do you have questions for FTB at this time?
Yes, I have at least one question. Would you agree that the appellant had an opportunity to receive notice and to be heard?
Yes, he did receive.
That answers the question. Let me just ask you a follow-up. Do you believe that FTB's belief regarding the address of a person to whom FTB intends to send a notice must be a reasonable belief?
Yes, it must be a reasonable belief.
Okay. I believe that you indicated that notices were sent to the California address because FTB believed he owned that property. Is that right?
Correct. He does own that property. I believe that was mentioned in his appeal paperwork, the appeal to the OTA.
Okay. Well, is he on the deed? Do you know?
I personally do not know, but I believe that he has said that he owns that address.
Okay. So FTB's position is that if a person's name appears on a deed to property in California, that is a sufficient basis for a reasonable belief that the person lives there.
It may be, but also, at least in this instance, there was the indication that mortgage interest had been paid on that address that Mr. Amin had paid on the California residence, as well
Okay.
as the ownership interest.
Okay. Suppose a person's name appears on a loan, and therefore that person pays interest on that loan, but the person's name does not appear on the deed. Is that a reasonable basis for a belief that the person lives at the residence?
So are you speaking about a mortgage, or are you speaking about a loan in general?
Let's say a mortgage.
A mortgage? Well, that is the instance in this case, is that interest was paid on the mortgage at the California address. So that is an indication that there would be an address, unless there's something else that would say that FTB had a belief that there was another address out there that would be the most likely place to send the information, which is what FTB did in this case. As soon as they had information that he was not at that address through the returned mail, they found an alternative address where notices were then thereafter sent, which he received.
Okay. I believe those are all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I may have a question or two for FTB as well. I wanted to ask in FTB's Exhibit K, the IRS wage and income transcript. Don't those pages also reflect that appellant was receiving Social Security payments at a Florida address?
I'm looking at Exhibit K right now. Do you know which page that is?
Oh. Let's see. Well, I'm actually just looking, I saw the Florida address on the wage and income transcript, like it's on the first page. It's there's a PO box in Florida. Oh, also on page 5 of Exhibit K.
Well, correct, there is the Florida address on there, but as you can see the request date for the wage and income transcript on the first page shows a date of January 11th of 2024. So that was the point at which Franchise Tax Board had information about the Florida address, which they already had because they knew in December of 2021 to send notices to that address.
Right. I guess I'm just wondering at what point FTB would have had that information about the Florida address that it could have used, given that presumably the IRS transcript was going to contain that information all along.
It was at the point that FTB received the returned mail from the California address, which was in November of 2021. And at that point, they obtained the Florida address in December of 2021. So that was the point at which Franchise Tax Board had reason to believe that there was an address other than the California address that notices should be sent to.
And if I may add, Judge, the information FTB had received was only the information on the Form 1098 issued by the mortgage holder. And so that information only was issued to the California address, issued to Mr. Amin at the California address, not at the Florida address. That's why FTB also believed that address would be valid based only on the 1098 information.
All right. Let me ask another question. When FTB was pointing to reliance on the address of the real property for which the appellants paid mortgage interest, is there any legal authority that you want to point the panel to that supports a finding that the address of the real property for which the taxpayer paid mortgage interest meets the definition under the Revenue and Taxation Code section of an address FTB has reason to believe is the most current address for the taxpayer? Is there any case law, regulation, anything that says if you're paying mortgage interest, that if the taxpayer's paying mortgage interest on a property, that supports finding that it's an address FTB has reason to believe is the most current address for the taxpayer?
I'm not aware, but I can certainly look up any type of authority that could be there and be able to brief that matter. But the statute itself states that there has to be some reasonable basis behind it. And an individual who owns and pays mortgage interest on a property located in California, it's reasonable to assume that the individual can be contacted at that address. Especially when mail is sent to the address and it's not returned. It's at that point that the Franchise Tax Board looks and says they have reason to believe that it could not be the address. And that's when the Franchise Tax Board took the position to find if there was an alternative address, which they did find.
Okay. Right. Thank you, FTB, for answering my questions. I'm going to turn back to Hearing Officer Parker because you indicated you may have another question.
Yes, is appellant's daughter still present? Oh,
Ms. Amin?
hello, thank you. Yes, I did have a couple questions after FTB's presentation. They kind of clarified, I believe, what one of their exhibits that they submitted, which was Exhibit M, that discusses when the first returned mail came through. And according to the exhibit, the first time they received a returned mail from the California address was in November of 2021. Did I hear correctly that that is where you reside?
Mhm. I reside at the California property. Mhm.
And you were residing there in in 2020 and 2021?
Mhm.
So is it your position that the notices that were sent that weren't returned, because we do see that they did send notices in for 2017 and 2018, they did send an NPA, and they also sent a demand for a return or a request, I can't remember which one it was. But they did send it to the California address in 2020 and in 2021. And is it your position that you did not receive those
That's correct.
communications?
Did not.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then after 2021, it appears they did change the address. Also, did you also testify that you made phone calls to FTB to help resolve this situation with your father?
He did. When I was calling, he was with me to give them clearance to talk on speakerphone with me, but yes,
Okay, and did you also aid him in filing the amended returns, or did he do that on his own?
he did that on his own.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions for you. Thank you for your time.
Mhm.
Okay. And Judge Geary, do you have any further questions at this time?
I would like to ask Ms. Amin one question, I think. Your father is the only obligee under the mortgage, is that correct?
The mortgage is under his name and my mother's name.
And the deed to the property is also in your father's name?
Mhm.
Okay. And just to repeat, you did not receive any of the notices that that FTB sent to the address where you live?
That is correct. I did not.
Those are the only questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I believe since we are done with questions for now, I turn back to appellants and say, Mr. Amin and Ms. Amin, we now have time for appellants rebuttal. You do not need to repeat anything that you've already told the panel, but if you have additional things that you want to say in response to FTB's arguments and the questions and the responses to the questions that you've heard, this would be the time to do so during your rebuttal. And so we had planned for 5 minutes for your rebuttal,
Mhm.
and you can go ahead whenever you are ready.
Thank you. And I'm sure he'll have some things to add, but I just like to say, um, once the mailing started going to the Florida address, as my father indicated, he didn't even realize that California tax or anything would be coming to him for anything. So, in the way that all of the papers are written, and everything that he has served as a senior in the society is that scammers are coming after you. You might have saw we submitted a piece of evidence from, I believe, Wells from the bank that the funds were garnished from that said, though Franchise Tax Board isn't the IRS, just warning him of scams of that this will never happen. These demands, these types of things won't happen. And I just wanted to go back to the one thing that he said and why this has all been just so painful and confusing is if he was just directly asked, because the way all the paperwork is written, it's confusing, quite frankly. If he was just directly asked if he made any income here, he could have, just really articulated that, and then we wouldn't have to be wasting everybody's time here and going through all of this. So I just want to say, like, though, if those notices did get sent to the Florida address, he probably did not take them with the seriousness that they should have been because he did not make that connection that anybody from California would be coming to him with this, especially with the way it's written and especially with all the content that he's being served about scammers preying on people in his position. So I just wanted to clarify that piece when he was talking about the mailings and just asking him that one question of, did you generate income in California? But I'll give it to him.
Yeah, again, I can understand why there would be a returned mail if there's a mailbox here with the address on it. She gets name and with her name is on it. She gets the mail in that. Her husband mail comes in. His name is, I said, Tony Domingo. That's no problem. Why they would have issue with my name? Amin with the same address. It won't get in that box. If she had gotten it, of course, she would have told me this letter came for you and be addressed. Mail never came in there. But they don't want to look at their own department. Why didn't come? They're just going after us instead. Yes, again, it's just they keep on saying, we'll send you the mail they we never got. Why would I have trouble answering it? They have to answer that. Why would I have trouble answering that simple question that, did you make any money here? I don't care if a stranger asks me on the street, I will answer him. Why wouldn't I answer them? If we had to send if they had a letter like that from them. Maybe they can answer. Why would I not answer that? Here are 2 letters from IRS, no problem getting them at Florida address.
Please don't share.
Yes, sorry.
kind of information.
Yeah, just making a point, that simple point. But yeah, I'm basically getting all the other mail, IRS, this, that, and all kind of bills. Why their letters problem getting to our mailbox? Same mailbox. Here, they have the same mailbox there. And my name, every other mail is coming every day. But if my name is on it, somehow it doesn't get into this mailbox. Her name is on it, it gets into it. Her husband's name is, it gets into the mailbox. But if Amin is on it, somehow it doesn't get into the mailbox. Is there an explanation for that? Do they have explanation for that? There is no explanation for that. It never got there. That's the only explanation.
And is there anything further from appellants? I think it seems like appellants have completed their rebuttal. And so I'm just going to turn back to my co-panelists and make sure that they don't have any further questions. Hearing Officer Parker, no further questions.
No further questions. Thank you.
Judge Gary, no further questions.
No further questions.
Okay. Thank you everyone very much for your participation today. I believe I can say that the record is closed at this time and the case is submitted. The panel will decide this case based on the evidence, arguments, and applicable law. And OTA will send both parties the written decision no later than 100 days from the close of the record, which is today. So thank you everyone for participating today. The hearing is now adjourned and there will be another hearing later this morning.